Thank you for joining us again for the second episode of Society Survivors. Yay! And of course, I am the creator of the Entrepreneurs Lounge. So, radio show. So if you didn't listen to yesterday's podcast, which is what we're going to really be diving in on today, you definitely need to do that. So go to TheEntrepreneursLounge.info after this episode, and you're going to be able to listen to that. Because we had this excellent interview with Sanu Jain, who is the Executive Director of Transitions Family Violence Services. And as we were talking about yesterday, or actually it was Monday for the debut show, the importance of certain communities as we're going through this crisis. And one of those communities are those that are dealing with domestic violence and abuse. So it's important that we get those experts, the people that are boots on ground, to actually tell us what the issues are, what are the resources they provide, as well as what resources they actually need. So that podcast had a lot of great information. We're just going to take a short amount of time right here to give you some of those recaps, but also we encourage you to go back and listen to the full interview because there's a lot of nuggets that she gave us. But first, I want the creator of Society Survivors to share what this platform is about. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Alicia.
No, thank you.
I am Claudia White, known as the Amazing Amazon. I am the creator and visionary for Society Survivor, as well as Generational Survivors is the reason why I came up with Society Survivor. I'm thankful for my beautiful co-host, Alicia Brown, the Joy Guru, for also being the backbone and the backside. I don't like saying backbone, but
teamwork, girl.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, it does.
Just to tell you a little bit about Society Survivor before we get into the real topics here. We put this platform together to raise awareness within our communities and across the globe. There are a lot of different things going on now with COVID-19 being the heighten of the news. Other issues that are still common in our communities are suffering because of COVID-19 and also because of COVID-19. If that makes sense. So what I wanted to share with you all is I wanted to weigh in on the community and get their sense and their reaction as to what's going on and see if they can offer any healthy resolve. So I am going to implore you to not only listen to the Entrepreneur Lounge radio show, the podcast that we put out, but also join in on these Zoom meetings. Okay, you can be a part of the discussion. The link will always be provided to you on the page. You can come in. You need to download the app, the Zoom app, obviously. Right. For those of you who have something that you want to say, or if you just want to be a part of in the room at the time that we're recording these, please feel free to join us. It's just not about myself and my beautiful co-host Alicia, but we want the community's responses. We want you all to weigh in. Yesterday, we had an awesome podcast with Executive Director Sanu Jain. We thank her for coming and giving of her time because she really has a lot going on within her organization, right? They're dealing with a lot of different what's the word I'm looking for? They're dealing with a lot
of challenges
and adjustments. Absolutely. Challenges and adjustments during COVID-19 when you're dealing with the survivors of abuse, when you're dealing with survivors who are still in the home dealing with the abusers. And I just wanted to take a short time just to say that yesterday I caught myself saying victim. I no longer want to use that word victim because even though they're in that it seems like they're in a victim situation, they're not victims.
They're being victimized, but they're not victims.
They're being victimized. Say that again, Alicia.
Yes, they're being victimized, but they're not victims.
They're not victims. They are survivors because they're surviving through this. They're
every day.
surviving through dealing with their abuser in the home. Let's say the abuser no longer could go to work. So
Right.
now the abuser's home along with them. And, they can't go to work. So now
Right.
they're surviving that. They have to survive for their children. They have to survive
Yes.
for themselves. Let's think about these children who are survivors of abuse. So I just wanted to correct myself for utilizing that term out of victim. Is, to me, that's not a pleasant word. And I love what Alicia said. They're in a victimizing situation, but they're not victims.
Yes. Well, as media professionals, which we are, when you're covering stories, a lot of times you're using the terminology or the lingo for that industry.
Absolutely.
News is always going to call you a victim. If you're being victimized, that means you're a victim. But, so we have to weave in and out of that. If you're giving a presentation before legislation, they want that term victim, because to them, if you're a survivor, you're out of the situation, and you're
no longer a part of that situation.
Right, and you're going through a process afterwards.
Absolutely.
But that like Sanu Jang said yesterday, they are survivors because they're surviving every single day.
Hey.
So they're in the midst of the struggle. They're surviving every single day. And so that's why we're stressing to go look at the website. And we'll give you that information later. We've put it on the Generational Survivors page. We shared it on our personal pages for you to go and visit Transition Family Violence Services, because daily they're updating their social media and their Facebook page, because there's just so much of this that you don't take into account. You really don't think about. Some of us are in panic. I think almost everyone has an additional level of stress that they're trying to manage, but you're not thinking about other things sometimes because it doesn't affect you.
Absolutely.
It's not as close to you as it once was. So like we were saying, people, oh my goodness, the children, they need to eat. How are they eating? And, I'll give it to the cities. They in the school systems, they got drives together. They, made up plans for when the children could get lesson plans as well as get food. Then came the issue, well, how are they getting here? Because a lot of parents are working, or, normally the kids came to school on the school bus. So that's how they were here.
Exactly.
So a lot of communities have taken it upon themselves to do, go through the neighborhoods, or, do transportation drives and things like that. And all we're simply asking is for the different communities and different areas that we're going to talk about for society survivors, that you add this to the list. Because as Sanu was sharing with us yesterday, there was additional considerations we weren't even thinking about. But that's the point of having the experts that are what I call the boots on ground, to tell you what are the current changes and what are the current conditions. And one of the things I also want to say, because, Entrepreneurs Lounge, radio show, podcast, we're focused on entrepreneurs, right? Of course, we live in community. So we're going to talk about this because this deals with our community. But since we are dealing a lot of times with the population of entrepreneurs, I want to remind you that entrepreneurs pivot. That's the whole game of being a business owner, of being
absolutely. That's the whole game of being an entrepreneur.
You have to pivot.
You have to adapt to what's happening right now in the now situation for your situation to better what you're doing as a business owner. Absolutely.
Yes. You can plan, you can strategize, you can, for all the different scenarios, and then another one come you hadn't even thought about. So you pivot. So that's what we're saying at this time. We all have to pivot. And when you're looking at certain populations that you haven't thought of, those organizations that are providing resources, those people that are advocates and they're helping, they now have to pivot as well with the mandates and the different government changes as we're trying to go through this virus, this epidemic, this pandemic. We all have to pivot. So sometimes the way we want to help and support, we have to pivot that.
Right.
So that's some of the things that we're going to talk about today. We have to think about those. If we're looking at those suffering abuse and domestic violence, the fact that Some of them are attempting to flee the situation. You know, there's always people that are trying to, you know, get that courage. And how do I safely leave? How do I safely leave myself? How do I safely leave, you know, if I have children and carrying the children with me? Just because coronavirus is going on, that doesn't stop that process. It just adds to the challenges and burdens of that. And the analogy that Sanu James shared yesterday, and again, that's the executive director for Transition Family Violence Service, which is a 501c3 organization that helps survivors. The analogy she shared was that if you imagine the panic that many of us feel with COVID-19 or coronavirus, survivors feel that every
day.
day, every minute of the day. You know, a lot of us, we're safely home with our family. You know, some of us are even in a situation where financially we're okay. You know, we either had a business that primarily operated from home, or we can operate from home, or some of you have jobs where, you know, now they're saying, oh, just work from home. So you have the ability to keep getting a paycheck, or, you know, whatever it is, you have other things set up where you're going to be okay. A lot of other people are not. We're here safely with our families. We're safely in our homes. You know, yeah, we get to sit here in warmth, or, you know, depending on your climate, coolness, you know, you're tucked in your blanket, or you have your food and things at home, panicking. But there are other people that don't have that at all. They are not home safely with their loved ones. They don't know where the next dollar is coming in. They don't even know what they're going to do to preserve their life as far as life and death.
Absolutely.
That we think about that. And one of the other things that she mentioned, you know, we think about luxuries. I look at the timeline, you know, your mindset's everything. So you really have to make sure how much you consume of this. You want to be informed, but you have to be careful how your mind and your spirit goes with information. So I know I was looking at something yesterday where they were giving the updates. I think it was the, I don't know, it could have been CNN, CDC. It was some, I was online and they said, you know, when looking for updates, we recommend that you don't look at it for more than twice a day. Even they realize that mentally, emotionally, this is doing something with people. So while they have to be informed, you know, be careful how much you're taking this in. But, you know, I said that to say a lot of times if you're looking at your social media timeline, people are complaining, oh God, I can't go here, or I can't go here. You know, I can't go get my Starbucks in the morning. Those are luxuries that, you know, we're sort of missing. But when she said that some of those dealing with domestic violence and abuse are having to consider whether or not to pay for internet, they're looking at that as a luxury. For a lot of us, that's just a basic necessity.
That's something that we have on a daily basis. A lot of us who are not living in survivors' mindset,
Right.
their lifestyle. And
Right.
so many things that you said, especially with not looking at the news more than twice a week. That is already, that heightens the fear in a lot of folks.
Yes, Lord.
To hear things over and over again, you can't do this, you can't do this. The virus is spreading. The numbers have arisen. There is no cure. We're working on a cure. We don't know when this is coming. They might put the schools back. The colleges might go back. That might cause greater risk. That might impose a greater. I mean, I heard something this morning. Not to get off the topic, but I heard something this morning that the president of Liberty University is going to send those kids, open his college back up.
Oh my goodness.
I just feel like people are not utilizing wisdom at this time. So
No.
when you're talking about living in fear, and then you look at a survivor's fear, something that Sanu said yesterday, Sanu Jane, she said that, yes, we are living in a pandemic situation, but they have personal pandemics daily.
Yes.
And that stood out for me.
Yes.
She said personal pandemics. They have a personal pandemic they survivors live with every day. So this for them, only heightens their situation.
Yes.
She spoke on how, you know, they're trying to figure out how do we stay and connect with our survivors on
Right.
a daily basis if they're actively trying to escape, and let's
Right.
say they don't have a phone.
Right.
So she talked about how they do have some safe plans on the web where you can
Thank
go
God.
to the website if they have and that's only if. That's why we take a lot of these luxuries. See how you
For
and I are on
granted.
this. We're on our laptops, we're on Zoom, we have internet.
Right.
This is not, this is a, for us, it's like basic. This is like,
Right.
oh, every day for us.
Right.
For them, it's like, does a survivor have access to the internet?
But
Does,
remember, she was saying sometimes they got Wi-Fi access at work, or
and
maybe
that's the only time.
McDonald's or somewhere that had Wi-Fi. Well, you can't do that now.
Absolutely, because now you're being asked to stay inside, and a lot of your jobs are closing the doors just
Yes.
for safety measures. So when that survivor, the only opportunity the survivor had at that time was to go to work, because that was the time where they could get on the computer and utilize the internet. That was the time where they can utilize the phone if they didn't have a cell phone at home.
Right.
Just like the children. The children's escape was going to school. Okay. And now who has eyes on these children who were being abused, who were witnessing abuse in the home? No one has eyes, because the ones
No.
who had eyes on them, they can't go to school. So their teachers, their counselors, their
Yeah.
principals, people who they actively saw every day, who could say, who can sense, okay, something's not right with
Yes.
Maribel today. Something's going on with little Steve or Johnny, and
Right.
what's going on with Keisha today?
Right.
Let me talk with them, or let me send them to the guidance counselor's office. So COVID-19 has really, it's not just infected folks as far as sickness wise, but as far as your mental well-being. These
Yes.
survivors who don't have the opportunities like a normal or everyday person would, per se.
Right.
They don't have
Or
those same opportunities. You know what I
or
mean?
even the fact when she talked about, because from an organizational perspective, businesses are being in compliance.
Yeah.
Even with her organization, um, you have to think about a lot of her staff are advocates. So they're the ones that would go with the survivor to court,
Absolutely.
these situations. Can't do that now. So even from an organizational standpoint, the way these people, and like we said on the podcast, God bless her and her staff. Because
Yeah.
her staff, they're advocates. They're just like, no matter what, we'll comply, but we're still going to help. However, we have to help. And she had to make the difficult decision the prior week to say, I'm transitioning my staff to work remotely.
Absolutely.
You think of that type of environment, there's no such thing as remote work.
Remote.
You're
No.
on the ground. You don't do remote, but she made that decision. For our business owners, you pivot.
You pivot.
You don't have to always wait for a mandate. You pivot when you think about what is in the best care of not only those people you serve, but the people you serve, which are the people that work with you to get it done.
Absolutely.
She made sure that they now can work remotely, but again, disruption of services. It impacts even the way you take care of survivors.
Mm-hmm. They don't. I remember her saying that even with the volunteerism, because they count on their volunteers to do a lot of
Yes,
additional
ma'am.
work. They need that sort of help. So now their volunteer staff has been cut down to a minimum, a severe minimum. So they don't have the staffing needed
Right.
to continuously run a functional business. So
Right.
you had to make these difficult decisions as an executive director and put things in place, which I applaud her, because during
Yes.
this time of panic, a lot of people would shut down. A lot of directors wouldn't know how to
Yeah.
manage
Pivot.
and exactly, I like that word, pivot their situation. So
Yeah.
for her, when she said, listen, we still have to get out there, we still have to have boots on the ground, so we're taking extreme caution. Yeah, we still have to ensure that our survivors get the things that they need. I mean, she spoke about things that we wouldn't have even considered
No.
providing to a place like Transitions so that they can get this stuff to their clients.
Right.
I would have never thought of what did she say? She said allergy medicine, things that we take for granted.
Pedialyte,
Medicine, Pedialyte,
thermometers, cough syrup,
thermometers. Said that's a need there. This is a necessity for them. It's a need. Whereas for a person like you and I, people like you and I, we can go to the store, get back into our homes, and that's it. But that survivor, they don't have those opportunities.
No.
They don't have the opportunity. Maybe they don't have transportation. Maybe their transportation was taken away from the abuser, or maybe they didn't have transportation to begin with. So now how do they get to the store to get just the bare minimum necessities?
Yes.
We're thinking about food, but what about that child who suffers from allergies, or that adult that has allergies, or ibuprofen, or the cough syrup needed to take care of a common cold? What about those items? So these are just, she shared such a huge part of what's happening behind the scenes, that I'm praying that people will go and listen to that podcast or hear us today, and yes, they embrace the situation for what it is, and they take it, and they don't turn back and say, well, this has nothing to do with me. And I will share something with you really quickly. There was a situation, there was a time ago, I think it was a couple of years back, I was planning, so I was organizing an event for Transitions, and someone said to me, well, I don't know how I would fit into this, because I don't know anyone who has been abused, and I don't know anyone who I've never experienced this, so I don't know. And this was another entrepreneur speaking to me, and I don't know how I would be able to include myself in this, or how I can be of help. And it's so sad that a lot of people, not just that one individual, but a lot of people think like that on a common daily basis. Like, this doesn't have anything to do with me. So, close eyes. And that is a sad situation. So I'm praying that our platforms will open the eyes of people who don't generally think on this level. Get them to thinking like, okay, I may not be going through this, but what if someone right next to me in my inner circle is going through this and I didn't even know?
Yes.
Because that's happening. So when you say you don't know anyone who's going through this, you do. You just don't. You're not paying attention. You're not looking at the signs.
As you say that, Saudi, and I've been talking about it. And I'll butcher the name because I never forget the full name, although I read the book and watched the movie a million times. But it's for colored girls that talk about suicide, something over the rainbow. I don't have the exact thing, but you guys know. There was that pivotal scene that I always remember, and Elise, I forgot her last name, but she's the actress that was.
Neil, Elise Neil, I believe it is.
Okay, with Michael Ealy, I think it is. And he's come back from for y'all that don't know, he the war. They had been loved since they were, in high school or such. They were together. They had 2 children. They were living in this apartment complex. But when he came back from the war, he had PTSD and he had all of these mental health issues. So, I mean, when he was sweet, he was sweet.
Yes.
Through episodes and didn't take medicine and things. He was just very violent and abusive.
Yes, he was.
Who is the manager of the apartment complex. And you have all of these group of Black women who are going through just different life struggles and different life things as women. It's really showing generational abuse as well. But what never left me was the fact he was going through an episode, and Janet Jackson was this actor's boss. She was, uberly rich.
Yes.
Her boss, the lady was her executive assistant, and she forgot a page of a report, and they had an important meeting. So Janet Jackson chauffeurs her in her limousine. They go into what was called the ghetto or the hood.
Right.
Her apartment. She goes in to get this report, and he's going through one of his episodes. Felicia Rashad has her 2 kids, 2 young children, and he's going to this violent episode where he's beating her. You can hear him throwing her against the wall. The kids can hear her next door. And some kind of way, the children manage to go into the situation. He is going through a full episode. Felicia Rashad realizes she needs help. So she's banging on all the apartment doors and she's saying, someone help her, someone help her, someone help her. And she runs out into the street. All the main characters are out in the street. Even Janet Jackson has gotten out of the limousine. They look up and Michael Ealy's character has these two young children
dangling
in his arms, his hands dangling out the window.
That's right.
And spoiler, he drops them. So both babies die. And one of the things that never left me is when they're in the hospital and the police is saying, how do you know this woman? Janet Jackson is saying she's my assistant. This one saying they manage the apartment complex. This one lives in an apartment. But there's a scene later where Janet Jackson's like, she worked for me all of these years and I never knew. Mm-hmm. I never knew this lady was going through anything. But the signs were there, but people just turned a blind eye. Because it's not my problem.
Absolutely.
Not my problem.
Absolutely.
How many people heard those children crying at different times? How many people heard him physically throwing her against the wall or slapping her? You can't live even in a home. You know, a lot of times houses are very built close together. So the louder someone is, or you see the police out there all the time, you know something's
going on. Pay attention.
And you can't ignore it. But what we would encourage you, that's why it's so important that you listen to that podcast episode and interview. Because there's a safe way for you to intervene, and there's not a safe way. We're not suggesting that anyone breaks up into someone's apartment or you break up into their home and I'm going to be a vigilante. I'm going to tell you not to do this and break in. No. There's a safe way to help people. And really, to be honest with you, if you just go to the website, which we're going to give you in a minute, if you just go and make a donation, a lot of us with the luxuries and this mandate, you're not able to get it. Like I'm not joking on any brand, but I say Starbucks because, you know, some people, if they don't have Starbucks coffee every day and they want the coffee right from Starbucks, they're going to have a connection. A lot of times with this, you can't do that.
Absolutely.
This you went to. You can't go sit in a restaurant anymore. So it is nothing for you maybe to take $25 and make a donation. And because Transition Family Violence Services is a nonprofit, that's tax deductible. So you can make a donation or you can contact the office. I would say before you buy anything, go to their website or contact the office.
Find out what they need.
The most.
Yeah.
But you know, if not that, you can always make a financial contribution because they always need that. But
absolutely.
If certain supplies or you want to go out and do a drive to get certain supplies because they also need non-perishable food. They mentioned, you know, snacks for the kids, things like that. They also need gift cards for, you know, to offset the transportation costs, financial donations as well as gift cards, because some of the survivors need to have money to go for Lyft or for
Uber.
Some of these transportation services.
Their phones. Pay phones.
Some of them need actual minutes to add minutes to some of their prepaid phones. So there's a variety of ways your donations and your funds can help.
Yeah.
I always say, if you're not just going to go to the website and make a financial donation, you want to do a drive and get things, reach out to them first to see what they need the most, and then do your drive. If you're just going to do a financial donation, you can go at their website, you can go at their social media pages, and you can do that. So here's the website. It's transitions, F as in Frank, V as in Victor, S as in Sam.org. And remember, Family Violence Services. So transitions with S, Family Violence Services, not the full word. So transitions, F as in family, V as in violence, S as in services.org. You can go there, find out what's going on, the updates they have, find out what they need so you can donate. But, you know, again, like I said, if it's only $20, $25, you have no idea what that can do for a person. You know, your $25, if you get 10 friends and all 10 of you give a minimum of $25, I guarantee you that $250 is going to be money well.
It's going to be impactful. It's
Right.
going to be impactful.
So if you don't know what to do, that's what you can do. And then you can do something additional to that after, but start there. And another thing I'm going to say before I turn it back over to Sadia is this. You know, we know a lot of big nonprofit organizations, they're going to have the money. They just are. You know, they're the ones that are first in line for every grant program, first in line for everything. But it's the other smaller nonprofits that are doing a lot of great work. A lot of times, you know, these executive directors and staff members are pulling money from their pockets to make this keep going. So, you know, in times like these, it's really rough. The needs, the demands for support don't go down, they actually go up. But as far as the money coming in, sometimes it goes down. So in order to have these people keep their doors open, a lot of these nonprofits, the smaller nonprofits, really need your financial assistance.
Yes.
Care if you make a personal pledge to make $100 donation or $200 donation or whatever it is. If all you have is $5 or $10 to give to them, that helps. And then going to their social media pages, sharing that out to spread the word and encourage friends and family and other people to help too. You know, I'm a firm believer in times of crisis, it really shows you what you're made of. So your thoughtfulness or thoughtlessness shows who you are.
Absolutely.
Period.
Period.
Some that are going to just put their hands up and say, oh, it's not me. Or, oh, there's nothing I can do. And there's other people that are going to go right to action. So that's what I'm asking us to do. You know, it's just like prayer. One of the greatest ways to get your needs met is pray for somebody else.
Absolutely.
You want your needs not to be met or not to be met as fast, just continue to pray for yourself and ignore everybody else in the world around you. So it works that way when it comes to things like this. You need help, look to help someone else and watch, don't the doors open for exactly what you need and probably in a better way than you can imagine. But at this time, I'm just going to ask Sadia, what final thoughts do you have for our audience?
Thank you, Alicia. All words that you said were so necessary, especially about thoughtfulness or thoughtlessness. And I think during these times, a lot of times people, they're thinking selfishly because they're thinking about themselves. And I don't want to be affected. How do I save me?
Right.
And while you're thinking about someone else, yourself, think about someone else as well. Someone who isn't afforded the same opportunities as you, perhaps.
And not to interrupt, one other place I forgot to mention, not only nonprofits, but churches.
Yes.
Just, you know, again, it's the thing in the mega church. A lot of times you have the funding, you have everything going on. But, you know, a lot of these smaller churches, and let's just be honest, when people are in attendance and no one's seeing you, they're not really giving as much or they're not giving at all. But the bills still come in. Things still have to be paid. So don't forget these churches. You know, of course, if you're a believer in your home church, I'll say, definitely make sure you take care of your home church. But there might be other small churches in your vicinity, or some of you are watching their service virtually. Make sure you visit their pages or stroke a check and mail it to them. The mail service is still going because churches also are taking a hit. And a lot of these places, churches, small businesses, nonprofits, they're not on a list for any type of stimulus package. You know, they're not going to get a check. They might have to for a loan, but they're not going to get a check. So make sure you keep our churches in mind as well as our nonprofits. That was all.
Alicia is going into our other topics for society survivors. We can't let her do that too soon. But yes, please do keep your churches in mind. A lot of the churches do have links to where you can donate. And they are doing church by phone. They're doing church by Facebook Live, church by YouTube, and different things like that. So technology is being utilized to the fullest, even more so now, which is an awesome thing. But just to tie it all together, in these times, prayer is necessary. Prayer and preparation are the two P's that I've talked about since day one of this pandemic. Prayer and preparation. Just to pivot back into Sanu, what she was saying yesterday, really quickly, because we don't want to keep you all longer than what we need to do. The Virginia Domestic Violence Alliance. They have a
Mm.
chat line. If a
Yes.
survivor has access to the internet, and you can go on that. Again, I'll say it again, the Virginia Domestic Violence Alliance. They have a chat line, and it's safe. They utilize safe
Yes.
measures, so you can log on, enter in what's happening in your household. Maybe you need help.
Mm.
Maybe you need an exit plan, an exit strategy. You can text all of that, and it will safely remove that browser, so that if your abuser is someone who's very controlling and looking over your shoulder at all times, and he's going back through to play what has she accessed, or what has he accessed on the web, they will not be able to see that. Also, there's a 24-hour hotline that Transition Services, Family Violence Shelter Services has in place. You can email them. You can email Transitions to let them know who you are, what you need, if you need help. So these are services that our local communities, and on a national level, they're still trying to provide resources for the survivors going through. It's just a matter of getting to it. And sometimes that could be quite challenging. We know with COVID-19, it
Mm.
is really challenging right now. So I'm getting ready to close out. And I just would like to say, you know, I've listened to a lot of people these days. I've listened to our community leaders, our
Mhm.
faith-based leaders. I've listened to family members and friends. And I understand that because there is an unknown with COVID-19, and the fear is real.
Yeah.
And I understand that every time you turn on the news and you hear something more, or the numbers have increased, that increases anxiety and fear in a lot of us.
Yes, it does.
I know more than anyone about anxiety and depression, and our children, what they're going through, because this has turned everyone's world upside down. But what I would say to all of you is, don't increase your fear, increase your faith.
Yes.
Increase your faith. Say positive words to yourself. Read a book. Like Alicia stated before, they're recommending don't listen to the news more than twice a day.
Yes.
And if you don't, and you don't even have to really listen to the news, you can go to the CDC's website and get
Yes.
the facts there. Or you can go to the World Health Organization, to their website, and get the facts there. Stop listening to the hype and get the facts, okay? And utilize the wisdom that God has given you. See,
Yes.
we have faith, but we were also provided with wisdom. And I think during these times, a lot of people they act off of their emotions.
Yes.
This is not the time to act off of your emotion. This is the time to really think wisely, utilize and execute wisdom. We understand,
Amen.
you have to know that things have changed, and we don't know where this is headed. But if we practice safe measures, if we execute wisdom, this will not prolong as they are saying it is. We can stop it as a nation, as citizens, as a population, as community. We can put a halt on COVID-19, but we have to be willing to make those sacrifices.
Yes.
Only go out as necessary. Practice your social distances.
It's
Utilize
key.
wisdom, okay?
Yes.
Execute that wisdom. And I
Amen.
think that sacrifice will build character within us all. Some of us, you need to utilize, practice humbleness and just bringing
Mm.
it back. Because I think this is the time where we need to spend time within our homes, with family, within ourselves, and just rebuilding and resetting the clock here. so
Yes.
that we can move forward into a better situation for ourselves.
Amen.
Prayer, preparation. Am I right, Alicia?
Amen.
Preparation. And those are my thoughts for the day. I appreciate everyone for tuning in with my co-host
Yes.
and I. We look forward to bringing this to you every Monday and Wednesday at noon. There will be a link set out on the Generational Survivors page on Facebook, as well as the Entrepreneur Lounge show. The Entrepreneur Lounge show, what is it? Entrepreneur Lounge show.
EntrepreneurSLounge.info.
Yes, I
And
got
of course, that will
Hey,
have social media pages. See, you're good because I
hey.
have to say just one disclaimer. Transition Family Violence Services is in Hampton, Virginia. So some of the resources we mentioned to you are state specific, but what we will do when you're viewing this video, we'll have a link below, and we'll also put it on the Generational Survivors Facebook page. Actually, if you read the book, Generational Survivors, there is, I think, at least 6 pages international support if you're going through any type of abuse, domestic violence, and we have that very specific to different populations. So if you're LGBTQIA and you're dealing with issues there, if you're in the military, we have multiple pages of resources globally for you. So we'll make sure we'll put the link down in this video. We'll repost that link on the Generational Survivors page on Facebook. So no matter where you're tuning in from, we have resources specific for you in your area, nationally, internationally, as well as regionally. For us here in Virginia, we've given you that in this broadcast. But again, a lot of information to think about. Just make sure you stay tuned to Generational Survivors Facebook page, website. You will find it there, but it's TheEntrepreneursLounge.info. And if you want to view the podcast, we'll put the link on there, but also that is TheEntrepreneursLounge.info. So we'll keep that going, and you can join us on the websites. You can we have a contact us, so you can put messages there on the social media pages, messages there. I want to share about this, or, no one's talking about this over here. We invite those things because we want to bring enlightenment and awareness, and we are working tirelessly during this time to provide you with the experts who we say are boots on ground, so they know it better than anyone. We're not going to just give you our opinions and theories, but we're going to bring you factual things and always give you the opportunity to do something, because it's not always just what you know, it's what you do with what you know. So we're leaving no excuses on the table. But with that, we wish you blessings. Our prayers are with you and your family. And as my wonderful host says, prayer and preparation. We're not doing panic. We're doing prayer and preparation. So bye-bye for now.